Yeah, so the recording started there. I think it should do a transcript as well, which is, I think, very useful, especially as it can be just fed into an LLM, and you can sort of go,
just ask a question.
Yeah, what did we talk about again? Yeah. Right, cool. So LLM-as-a-judge, the survey is the paper. I'm easy. Do you want to go first on your view on it? I'm happy to start. It's up to you. I'll let you guests choose.
Yeah, that is fine. So like I don't have much to speak about the paper in general, because I looked at it from an application perspective, on like just whatever parts of the paper are relevant to both of my projects.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good.
So yeah, I have two key things that bother me about the paper. The first is, if you remember in the section 3, where they said structuring an LLM's output is actually better for the judgment performance.
For the which performance, sorry?
So structuring the LLM's output is actually better for like the LLM's judgment performance on like the ease of use and all. I'm not sure, somewhere in section 3. But the entire like thought process there directly contradicts with the other empirical studies that are done. Like I don't know if like there is a paper that was published last year called "Let Me Speak Freely," which evaluates the performance of the reasoning capacity of a language model and the impact of forcing a structure in its output. So its direct conclusion is that like structuring an LLM's output diminishes its reasoning performance.
You know what's interesting? Sorry, are you okay if I?
Yeah, that's fine. That's
cool. Yeah. What's interesting is in section 2 they say the opposite as well. Because that's one thing I noted, because I'm a big fan of structured outputs. So I'm glad that you're highlighting this paper about Let Me Speak Freely. I'll have a look at that. Because they go on to say something here. Recent work has proposed various solutions to address these challenges. And it gives a citation number 12, which I need to look at a bit more. This is section 2.3.2, constrained decoding. And then it says introduce domino. Oh yeah, 12. So whatever the citation is at 12, introduces domino, a decoding algorithm that preserves natural tokenization while enforcing constraints. So I wonder whether that's what they implemented in 3, that maybe bridges the gap a little bit. But that was something I took a note of, because I was like, wow, that's a bit interesting for me. And it seems it's pretty cool that it was for you as well. I'm going to let you get back to your chain of thought, but I've got some questions around that.
Yeah, sure. So that is what confused me, because like not only the specific paper, but there were multiple studies that were done, like both in domain specific judgment evaluations and performance evaluations, that like coherently agree on the statement that structuring an LLM's output diminishes its reasoning capabilities and also the reliability of whatever the model is giving. And here we see the direct opposite in the judgment capabilities of a paper. So that is something that I want, like I have personally have to study more on what exactly they have done and what exactly they are looking into. And the second is the basic like normal overall content of the paper is basically saying 4 different things, right? Like same family cannot be used. Positional bias is has a significant impact. You need to be careful on selecting what models that you are choosing, and evaluation doesn't actually like pairwise comparison is better than a standalone comparison.
Oh yes, yeah.
So these were like these 4 to 5 different key points were some things that I noted, and I was like planning on looking at the different applications that I can use. So I was like looking into the listwise comparison methods. So
like multiple choice. or?
No, not the multiple choice one. Like so, pairwise comparison compares
Yeah,
the judgment between two different objects, right?
yeah. Sorry,
Whereas,
I misheard. Yeah, pairwise. Yeah.
yeah, and the list-wise comparison is where we have multiple levels of output that have to be ranked again.
Oh, sorry. No, I didn't misheard. I just don't know it. So list-wise is like an advancement on pairwise.
Yeah, it's just an expansion of pairwise where like we move from 2 to n number of outputs that have to be ranked.
Yeah. And is there just one ranking, or do you go through until you arrive at one? Like, the next one's n-1 or n-2, and then multiple, or do you just choose one from the list of n options?
Yeah, so that can be approached in two different ways, right? Like one is like you can just do set wise ranking of like you can select a small number of responses and incrementally rank individual sets. And the other is a zero shot ranking where you just pass the list of outputs to the model
Yep.
and ask it to give an overall comprehensive ranking of everything. So ABC, BCA, this
Yeah,
kind of output.
yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Uh, yeah, so I was looking into the zero shot ranking approaches and like how they can build up because my current work does involve list-wise ranking.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, if that can be replicated, that would be interesting.
And did you learn anything that you can use immediately, or is it something that you need to look into a little bit more?
The problem with the list-wise approach is many people are using that for the information retrieval cases rather than the judgment cases.
Okay.
So like there is this re-ranking phase, right? In that, so people were using the list-wise ranking phases for the re-ranking problem rather than the actual judgment
Judgment aspect.
conditions.
Yeah, which is a completely different use case, really, I think,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's yeah, okay. Yeah, I see. So the sort of search and retrieval aspect is like,
yeah,
let's say you've got a RAG application and you return 10 documents that are semantically similar, then you'd send them to an LLM to rank the relevancy. Is that sort of list-wise operation that you're thinking about there?
yeah. That is what the current work is based upon. So
Yeah. Okay.
I was trying to find one where like we can see the general judgment based capabilities. So
Yeah.
in my previous work, I used list-wise ranking, but I used the simpler like border point approaches where like we give a score for each ranking position and quantify it. But I was trying to see if there are any advancements over there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That would be good. That to me is an area where I think, especially this paper introduced a lot of things that I'd like to look into as well, particularly the biases. I think that section was very interesting for me. And I've got a rough feeling. I just sort of zoom out a little bit and talk about what I thought of the paper just in general. Is it, you mentioned 2 points. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, or is that your general view of the paper?
Yeah, there are a few points that I'd like to add, but they are like just additions like that are related to my work that I'm doing.
Cool.
But one thing regarding biases that I wanted to note was bias is a subjective aspect, right? Like
Yeah.
so it is a highly subjective aspect. So whatever evaluations that these guys have done, unless or until we know a clear we get a clear explanation on what kind of biases they have evaluated, like not only the gender or position biases, but the conceptual biases that are there,
Yeah.
we can't use the typical results from the table yet, is what I'm thinking.
Okay. I'm going to just zoom out a little bit and give my overview of the paper, and then we can sort of maybe dig into a few things. I'm going to try and do it like that, at least anyway. I thought it was almost a paper that its consistency wasn't as complete as I would have liked. I'll start with a slightly negative aspect. I feel that the conclusions and the bits at the end where they talked about the challenges were very generic and didn't really actually talk to what they'd done at the start. And I thought the start was really good. I think I think it's a first attempt and needs a lot of work. The formalization is more like a toy formalization, but it's good to have a formalization. It's good that someone's gone out there and said, hey, this is a way of formalizing LLMs as a judge. And then breaking down the in-context learning, I thought was pretty cool to have that separated and like a taxonomy for that. Model selection, I think, is a necessary. You know, there's not much to say about that other than you need to be careful about how you choose your models and test them. And I really liked jumping forward a little bit to their evaluations. Again, creating a taxonomy and a framework. I thought it was, you know, the basic metric, you know, another formalization that's new and maybe could be developed, but at least there's a formalization is good. And the list of biases I thought was really insightful for me because I haven't really looked into the details, but I 100% agree with what you've just said. It's still very dependent on you know what wider society agrees as to what's a bias and what's not. And you know, you could have LLMs that are, you know, very culturally orientated. I've seen someone's done an analysis of different cultures and then put LLMs within that, which is quite interesting. There's something that popped up on my feed this morning. But there's two types of biases as well, which I think was really important to say. You've got these task agnostic biases, as they call them, which is where it's, you know, these ones that we're talking about, the societal, the influence of the training data, specifically on a point of view. And then things like the judgment-based ones, which is, if I'm remembering this correctly, where the positional aspect comes into play. You know, it's going to pick the first option over the second option more often than not, or it's got a bias towards that for whatever reason. So I think there's a lot of interesting areas there to be analysed further. Jumping back to the section 2, like post-processing and the like, I think the structured output was interesting. You know, because I'm a big fan of that. So that's an area as well. We've sort of talked about that earlier. So I like that. And then the idea of using it for different things. So application wise, my drive is towards LLM as a judge for agents and whether it can evaluate the performance, for want of a better word, the outcome that an agent generates. Whether you can use it for some form of real-time evaluation is my underlying question to why I'm looking at all of this. So they're the things about the second section. The improvement strategies, I think, you know, that's quite interesting, but I didn't really know anything particularly important about that. And then, yeah, just jumping back round to the meta evaluations. I really liked that. I thought it was interesting how they analysed it on the biases that they've created. I think that's a great thing, but I didn't fully understand the repercussions of that on my application yet, if at all, and maybe it's not actually, the data's not useful. And that's yeah. So I felt, yeah, just to come back to the conclusion, I felt it was a bit weak on the conclusion. I think it did all this analysis and structure and then just said, you know, talked about reliability, robustness, and a powerful backbone. And it's like, you don't need a paper to say that they're important. You know, they didn't really talk, the conclusion didn't talk too much about the evaluations that they did. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
even in the domain specific survey of like LLM as a judge applications, I felt like it wasn't deep enough, both because of two reasons. Like just a year ago, the extent at which the LLMs were used for judgments in domain specific applications is low, but it wasn't as low as what they have shared, right? Like, there were multiple interesting papers which were testing the applications of LLM judges for recommendation in financial products. So there were
yeah,
a few papers that were doing that. So I wish they could have expanded on that more rather than the initial introduction part where
yeah,
they have like
yeah.
where they
Why
have just
made it more tangible to domain specific applications?
yeah, that is true. And yeah, even for data annotation part, like there have been multiple breakthroughs that I feel like it was missed. Like there is this refine and judge framework from Meta. I guess it came around a year ago. I'm not sure when it came out,
Yeah,
but it is for data annotation and generation aspect. Like it is a iterative process where like you have like multiple LLMs acting as individual critiques for whatever the response has been generated. Yeah, that was something that I do felt would have been more interesting to experiment.
yeah, yeah. Basically leveraging some of the other advancements in almost like the equivalent of the GAIN, the generative adversarial network that's used for images. Is that the sort of thing that you're talking about? How you've got critic and generator, and they both get better?
Yeah, and not the judge actually. It is not through training, but it is just the process of generating itself is like you get an output, it goes through multiple feedbacks from the critics, you consolidate everything, and it
Ah,
refines the further output.
so it's a bit like when they've created the models that do the reasoning, and they'll go
Hmm.
through and they'll say, wait, this is missing that, or something like that. So
Yeah.
I haven't seen that, so that's interesting. Yeah, I'm glad we're recording because that'll be something. You know, I'll ask it. What was it that Akil said about that paper? Yeah, good.
Yeah. So, but it just gave me a brief framework on which I can build upon for my domain specific task. So I'm just happy that I read it.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And like, there's two things that I'm going to do going forward. And one, I was hesitating a lot earlier because there was something I wanted to add to my summary. And I was really surprised by the best open source model being a 7 billion parameter model. Now, I haven't looked into it more than them saying that. I'm just looking for my notes here. And I wonder whether they only tested relatively small models. But if I understand correctly, the 7 billion parameter model performed as well as ChatGPT 3.5 or GPT 3.5. So let's see if I can find this.
Yeah, they have tested the sound models itself, except the Mistral MOE model.
Yeah, so for open source LLMs, we found that Quen 2.5 7 billion instruct showed exceptional evaluation capabilities, outperforming other open source LLMs in experiments. So what's that? That's page 25, section 5.2. And yeah, this is where I was like, trying to get my head around what all the biases and the valuations meant, to compare it, because yeah, I was interested that they found that one was good, which really talks to me, because part of what I hope to do for my final year project is something related to small language models as the brain, so to speak, for local agentics, basically running agentics locally.
Yeah, that makes sense. But
Yeah,
I feel like it could have been further expanded, right? Like the one thing that I fail to accept when they say that 7B models are actually good as for judgments is the fact that we are not speaking about the domain here. Like
yeah,
we are speaking it in a generalist term. So where exactly does the 7B model has a limitation is something that I would love to like dig into a bit.
yeah. I mean,
So
that actually sounds like a perfect follow-on to do this analysis by domain.
yeah, so that is something that I was like, okay, this is a good follow up, is something that we have to do, especially on
Yeah,
both the domain specific and the analysis side on what actually makes the model tick or
yeah,
switch it.
yeah. You know, but if I recall correctly, because I think you looked at this a little bit more than me, there are no domain specific aspects to it at all, are there?
No, I haven't like found a specific, or at least I don't remember a specific overview of like where domain specific items are there.
No, I don't think. One reference that comes to mind is possibly section 2.2, fine tune. Yeah, so they talk here about, in model selection, they talk about general LLMs, and section 222 they talk about fine tuning LLMs. But they don't really go into much more detail of that. They give a few examples, but that might be an avenue to sort of follow up on a little bit. And you know, find an LLM fine tuned to be an LLM as a judge for task decomposition or for financial services or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
yeah,
And it would have been further interesting like I like on like diving deeper into the Prometheus or like these kinds of models that are actually widely used as LLM judges. So that was something that I would have been like interested in.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. The way that these they got Panda LM. There's a few other Judge LM that they note as Auto J, as others that are there. So what do you have anything specific that you're going to do next off the back of it? Is this you know, it sounds like you're using this as a stepping stone potentially to evaluate what's there and consider something for the future. Do you think that you might do, say, fine tuning of a small LLM to be a financial domain specific LLM as a judge?
Yeah, that is something that I'm planning.
Cool.
But I would have to see the limits of how the resources that I have and also
Yeah,
the priority of the project.
yeah,
But yeah, that is one of the direction that I want to go to, especially because financial models have a lot of biases induced in them, and the biases are costly
yeah.
uh, for whatever decisions that these models make.
Do you have
So
like a paper or information that already covers the biases that you would like to address? Or
I haven't like specifically found a financial biases in large language models summary.
yeah,
There are a few papers like that people from FSIL have recommended, but I couldn't like get enough time to go around and read them. Yeah,
that's
so there is something that I have to look into. And the folks at Georgia Tech are also planning around the same direction. So I'll just stick around and see if I could get involved in that.
Yeah, because this, I think you're right to highlight resources. That's a big challenge that all of us have. I think I've got one GPU, and it's 16 gigabytes, and I feel lucky with that. I think if I was going to take this forward, it would either be one or two directions. I'm really interested in analyzing the output of agents generically. And with that, I also looked at RAGAS, RAGAS, which uses lots of other smaller models to evaluate RAG output, which I think could be translated across to evaluating agentic output as well. But LLM-as-a-judge, in theory, offers a little bit more flexibility, I think, within the bounds that everything was spoken about here, like the biases associated to the LLM. But it's another view in parallel to RAGAS as well. Well, that's just RAGAS is just one framework that does that. I recommend looking at that, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
And the other aspect that comes to mind, this is a frustration that I've got at the moment. I do quite a lot of coding with Claude Code. I'm trying to find the time to migrate to another setup, because I like Claude Code, but I don't want to be dependent just on them, and I'd like to have a more generic tool. I'm looking at AdaDesk at the moment, and I'm going to try Qwen 2.5 model running locally. And what I'd like with that is a domain expert around things like domain-driven design, behavior-driven design, test-driven design, especially because I do most of my programming in Python. Claude Code, it cheats, it takes shortcuts, it just stops doing things, and I need some tighter guardrails around its output to say, hey, have you thought about the inversion of control and dependency injection, just at the right time, because it's me doing that all the time, and it feels a little bit like there could be something automated that does the check, because more often not,
that is what the refine and judge framework recommends, actually. Like,
which one recommends? Sorry,
the refine and judge framework from the paper from Meta that I was speaking about.
Ah, really?
Where the output refinement process, like, so
cool.
essentially it takes a naive output or zero shot output. It like passes it to a critique. The critique gives a boolean yes or no, or like if it needs further refinement, it gives a set of feedback.
Yep.
That entire context is consolidated and passed again to get a better output, and this is iteratively performed. And there are a few like tiny tweaks that they have like evaluated, ablation studies that they have done. And but overall concept is like this entire framework is repeatedly performed around 3 to 5 times to get a far more consolidated and better output than the zero shot output that we get.
Definitely. If you remember the link for that paper or anything like that, if you could send it to me, that's great. Otherwise, I'll search for it afterwards. And that sounds spot on as a next thing for me to read.
Yeah, I think I have that somewhere here. Yep, I have it. I'll just share it. Should I share it here or in the Discord?
Yeah, as you wish. Whatever's easiest. I'll be opening it and saving it immediately.
Okay, then I'll just share it here.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was the paper that I was speaking about. Yes.
Ça va? D'accord, cool. Mon fiche. Bravo.
Yep, that should be. Oh, sorry, it wasn't delivered. I thought you got the message.
Ah, no, not yet. Where are you sending it?
It in the same chat. Yes, somehow I am getting an error here. I'll just share it in Discord.
Yeah, cool. There is a button here that says let contributors send messages that I've not really seen before, but it's active. But Discord works as well. I've just turned it off and on again to see whether that works.
Yes, some error is. I'm getting an error saying your message wasn't delivered. I'm not sure why.
Cool. I've got it on Discord. Awesome. Brilliant. It's only a month or so ago. Refine and judge. Awesome. So what we got a few minutes left, about 8 minutes of the time. I've really liked talking to you about this, Akil. I think it's just been interesting and enlightening.
It's the same for me too.
Cool. My thoughts are I'm going to go through the recording afterwards and just get a transcript and write it up, if nothing more for my own use. I'll share it with you, everything that I've done.
Yeah, that would help.
And also because I think there's, as you say, it will help consolidate the thinking and everything for me at least. We don't have to organize anything now, but I wondered if you'd be interested in doing something similar with another paper, or we continue on this thread about refining LLMs as judgment and that sort of thing, and have another discussion in 1, 3, 4, whatever weeks or something like that, however your agenda fits in.
Yeah, that would actually help me, because like having a discussion and a list of papers to discuss about. Can we do this in a bi-weekly or once every 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. What I suggest is we sort of sleep on it and have a think. I'll do the like closeout. I'll write notes up. I'll share them with everybody as well, because just it could be. I'd just like to share it, and I think bi-weekly sounds good. But I like to have a think about things and look at my agenda as well. Just not commit to anything without having put some proper thought into it. Because I think bi-weekly actually though does feel good, because I probably spent in total about 4 hours. Some of it whilst doing something with the kids or something like that, just helping them with their homework. I was reading, but it's a reasonable investment of time. But really beneficial. So I'm well keen to do it, and 2 weeks sounds good. Do you want to pick a paper? Do you want to pick the paper?
Yeah, that's something that I'd have to look into actually.
Cool.
I would have to find more papers on this evaluations, but focusing on something that would give empirical results is something that I want to look into.
Yeah. So continuation of the theme, but more tangible, domain specific potentially.
Yeah, it is more analyzed rather than the overview of the entire domain.
Yeah, I get you, and I agree that would be nice to see as well. It would be good to get a handle. So I guess what I'm saying is definitely let's meet again, and we can let's organise the date as and when fits into our agenda. But 2 weeks without looking at my agenda sounds good, like enough time to digest what we've spoken about and look at the new paper. I'm well keen.
Sure, that should be fine. Yeah, but I guess I would have to go now. It was great speaking with you.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care and speak soon.